And welcome back to Crash Bandicoot Warped. Excuse me. Fuck it, we're doing it live. I'm gonna mute that.
Crash chokes, we choke.
This is the last of the main storyline videos. The next two updates are going to be about time trials and then the DLC, the original bit of DLC that was made for Crash 3.
Gone tomorrow.
Here's the other future level. I like it. It's pretty good. There is a fair amount of backtracking, but it's a lot more streamlined than it was in Future Frenzy. And this is me just showing off the fruit bazooka again.
We have enough power-ups now where we are essentially an unstoppable killing Bandicoot.
Yeah, pretty much. And the final boss, as entertaining as it is, requires none of them. There's also this cute little robot. I checked Bandipedia. I don't think that enemy has a name. But yeah, basically its gimmick is that it shoots missiles at you. It's always in the same pattern. And that it quite literally shows you its ass. It's kind of underused in the main game, although in the DLC, which we'll be playing in 2 videos from now, actually there are a number of very creative uses of that robot. This is where the game tries to make use of the backtracking with the I think they're just called switch crates. So that's step 1. Then we go over here. And it really wants you to use the bazooka as well, so I think it's one of the only places where use of the bazooka is mandatory.
The bazooka, I'm assuming, has unlimited ammo.
Yeah. There's still one bit missing.
Oh, this is the start of the crate punishment.
Well, maybe not. We'll see.
Very beautiful level, though.
Though I do like the smoke trail when you're on those platforms. Makes it look like Crash is running on a diesel engine.
Gets pulled over for burning farm diesel instead of road diesel.
Anyway, one of the weird graphical details that was it was actually something that fans noticed when Crash 3 came out originally, was that Naughty Dog actually bothered to have these mirrors. The mirrors that the reflective surfaces here were not added for the Sane Trilogy. They actually bothered to create reflections. Very impressive for a PlayStation 2 game. Except there was one notable exception to that. If you had an Aku Aku mask with you, it would not reflect in those background mirrors, which is a detail that they have since added in the Sane Trilogy.
Interesting.
And here's the green gem path. The final level, level 25, is continuing the tradition of having a secret gem that requires you to have all of the colored gems, which is something that Wrath of Cortex did it as well. The 2 Game Boy Advance games did that. Basically, if it had a warp room structure.
You are just getting mileage out of that bazooka.
The thing is, when you're playing this normally, though, there's not really that much you really need the bazooka for. Oh, look, there's another switch crate.
Oh, wait, does that trigger all the way back at the beginning?
Now, mercifully, the game does not make you backtrack. It actually dumps you off here.
Huh. Interesting, boys. Interesting.
Though you do have to backtrack forward. But, you know, that's still half of it. And this is the other thing here. If you don't break that box underneath the TNT first, you won't be able to get those 2 question mark boxes.
Tricky. This is actually a pretty good-sized level.
So in this bonus round, you'll see me using the bazooka a lot to get rid of nitro crates. That's just me playing it safe. Unlike in, I think, Flaming Passion was the level that didn't have a nitro switch, where you had to detonate all of the boxes manually. That is thankfully not the case here.
Oh, God, yeah. Oh.
That wasn't too bad.
No, not awful.
You know, I had a plan going into this when I structured this this LP. You know, I specifically planned it out so that there would be one game in between each of the Crash games, so that I wouldn't burn out on it like I did with the Castlevania Lords of Shadow LPs. And I think it's working, because it's only now, with 2 videos to go, we're in the middle of the third to last video, that I'm starting to get sick of Crash.
As good as these games are.
Yeah. I knew that at some point the energy would be gone, that I'd be running out. And again, it's not the game's fault. I just, you know, I think we can call that mission accomplished. The fact that it's taken until now for me to get sick of this project.
You're almost there. Just inhale, exhale. We're gonna make it.
Gone tomorrow is now gone today.
Woohoo! I'm gonna miss this little critter pulling things out of his ass.
Yeah, regrettably, those extra animations were something that was added in the Sane Trilogy. They only had a single animation for that in the original. And we are at last here at level 25, Bug Light. It's the we have now finally at the darkness, the one gimmick that all the Crash games have, like the blackout basement style. This is kind of like that. There are specific indoor sections where we'll need to use the fireflies from Crash 2.
That hyper-extended jump, though, when you get that spin, that's just extremely overpowered.
Yeah, it's a real shame that the Death Tornado spin didn't really carry on. Actually, no, I'm wrong. When Crash stopped using the Warp Room formula, the Death Tornado spin did not carry out along with it. Crash Bandicoot 4 had an alternate idea where it just removed the cooldown time that the spin used to have.
Ah.
And here we go. It's the Rainbow Trail.
Beautiful.
One detail I kind of like about this is that there is some subtle color grading that matches with whatever gem you use to ride to the platform. So this is somewhat bluer than usual.
Oh yeah.
Actually, now, I'm thinking back to this. Wrath of Cortex didn't have the Rainbow Trail. I seem to remember that from last time I played that, which was many, many years ago. I have the GameCube version of Wrath of Cortex, which is easily the worst out of the 3 versions available. Although, if you care about loading times, the PlayStation 2 is actually much worse, because that had some truly atrocious loading times. Just play it on Xbox if you're going to.
Once again, Team Green wins.
I think the Xbox version also had some new fur shading technology on Crash's model. Oops. Almost messed that up. I really am trying to force situations to make the bazooka work. Also, this guy over here to the left, I don't remember if I've told this story already, but that particular texture is based on Murray, who was the official dog at Naughty Dog during its peak in the late 90s.
And Murray is the goodest boy. He is
Yeah.
the bestest employee.
Unfortunately, I can't find any pictures of Murray, even from the archived version of Naughty Dog's old website. I think it was in one of Andy Gavin's blog posts who talked about Murray. We know the deal by now. So, coming up here is one of the most cathartic moments in the entire series, really. Game just gives you 3 masks, and you get to run right through an entire field of nitro crates. This is the emotional catharsis that we needed after 3 games. It feels so good.
Here you go, kids. Just go nuts.
Though I do wish it was right at the end of the level, because we're about halfway through only. But it still feels great regardless.
I have to hand it to him. Big levels that don't feel samey.
It's funny that you keep talking about big levels in Crash Bandicoot, because, I mean, for years, especially early in the PlayStation 2 era, the old Crash games were used as like a template for the kind of linearity that people hated in the early mid 2000s, where, you know, big open worlds were all the rage. And
Sure, I mean, they're linear, but they're big and they're unique.
yeah, and I guess we should clarify, because, I mean, that trend is still around today, but in this case, it's more about, you know, collectathons and specifically big checklisting in an open world. In the early 2000s, where this kind of design wasn't, you know, particularly in style, it wasn't so much about adding things to an open space or, you know, creating a bunch of checklists to complete. It was more about just exploring the kind of big open worlds that you could make at all, and the size itself would be the novelty.
We are eternally grateful that this is not Donkey Kong 64.
Oh yes. I don't think I mentioned it in the LPs, but I actually think that Crash Bandicoot 4 is an interesting antithesis to Donkey Kong 64. More so both games have way more content than they should, but Donkey Kong 64 seems like it was made out of spite. But whereas I'll get back to this in a second here, but
the most expensive hairballs in gaming.
it's a shame if you use coal hairballs, you have to wait several million years. So let's go back to Cortex. Or not, because remember, we have to finish Tomb Time first. Okay, so, as I was saying, I do think it's an interesting study in contrast between Crash Bandicoot 4 It's About Time and Donkey Kong 64. Because there is a real cynicism to DK64's design, where things feel like they're there just to annoy you. Crash Bandicoot 4, everything exists for a specific design reason. There's just way too much of it. And if DK64 was overstuffed out of spite and detachment, Crash Bandicoot 4 was overstuffed out of love. I have compared it in the past to, an incredibly well-fitting and very good-looking sweater that your grandmother makes you. But she doesn't realize that it's too tight and it's going to smother you to death. That's the best way I could describe Crash Bandicoot 4. It's very high quality, but there's too much of it. You killed your fans out of love.
I do like the sweater analogy.
Thanks. I spent about 5 seconds on that. So now that we have the purple gem, I think that was from Flaming Passion, this path opens. Even though you can easily reach it, that particular barrier won't it won't open up until you have the purple gem.
So you can't actually do this level completely until you've collected the necessary gem to get through there.
Yeah, and unlike the other two Crash games, as I think I've mentioned before, this is the only time it happens in Crash 3. The DLC kind of counts because you can access the DLC level at any time, but it's clearly designed in such a way that you won't be able to get most of the stuff until you've gotten all of Crash's abilities. And that's more of a case of it expects you to do it post-game. So I don't think that really counts. I'm just realizing now that as a way of presumably as a way of streamlining the assets, the oil texture still acts the same way as or it animates in the same way as the ice reflecting in the snow levels of Crash 2.
You're right. Reuse of assets.
Which I'm not exactly a game designer myself, let alone someone who has to work on a remaster of 3 different games at once. But I feel like there's, at least some pressure to say, oh, this thing is kind of, not quite identical to how it was in the other games that we're working on that we only have 2 years to put together. But, it's close enough. Who else is going to notice except for, the super fans that nitpick over everything and will make a giant YouTube thumbnail with an angry emoji and lots of arrows?
Clickbait.
Okay, now it's time to go to Cortex.
But before we get into that clickbait, let's hear from 8 of our sponsors. Clearly, this guy uses Udemy. I mean, look at the size of his head. # not sponsored.
Cortex is laughing because he's thinking of all the things he just learned through his 3-month trial of Skillshare.
# not sponsored.
I should be rather upset, shouldn't I?
And in fact, we're furious. But it seems you have overlooked one small detail, you little orange delivery boy. Now that you have gathered all the crystals...
Hey, I've played Death Stranding. Delivery boys are legends.
Speaking of delivery boys, have you heard of HelloFresh? # not sponsored.
Crash Bandicoot, for the last time, give the crystals to me.
I guess it's not too late to find a jetboard company that could sponsor this video. Anyway, this is the best final boss in the original trilogy, by which I mean it is somewhat entertaining. And it is at least visually busy.
Yeah, there's a lot going on here.
So unlike the mines from Crash 2, these actually will kill you. And yes, they actually make a mechanic out of spinning the boss's corpse. Because you have to direct Cortex into that hole in the center, or else he won't take any damage.
Actually impressive. Guys, I'm actually impressed.
Yeah, I think the thing that impresses me more is the way in which the at least in the second phase with Aku Aku and Uka Uka fighting, that it very slowly homes in on the player, but enough to give them enough distance to dodge them. And I also said, I think I said before that this this game has one of my favorite adult jokes in a piece of media otherwise meant for children, and that's in the any percent ending, which we'll be seeing in a second here. And there's the speed shoes.
Ooh.
Before we see the 80% ending, let's test out those speed shoes. Look at him go.
Slightly faster.
Defeated again. This is not fair. Maybe I should retire to a nice big beach with a nice big drink and a woman with nice big bags of ice for my head.
I love that line so much.
The delivery and the hand motions sell it.
Only one piece of bonus content, and that is the Cortex fight in the original.
I'm sorry. This is the part where I'm supposed to be angry, full of rage, incensed beyond belief. Once again, you have outsmarted and outspun my best henchman. I should be rather upset, shouldn't I? And in fact, we're furious! But it seems you have overlooked one small detail, you little orange delivery boy. Now that you have gathered all the crystals, all we have to do is take them from you!
And the fight is basically the same. Although, I maybe it's just in nostalgia speaking, but I think the mines stand out a bit better against the ground.
Still visually interesting, too.
Yeah. And technically impressive, given the PS1's capabilities.
Defeated again? This is not fair! Maybe I should retire to a nice big beach with a nice big drink and a woman with nice big bags of ice for my head.
It's just as funny the second time.
Still the gem. We still have a chance to triumph.
Really well done, Naughty Dog. Bravo. You made the joke work.
Yeah, and there we go. That is the final quote-unquote proper video in terms of progressing the story. So next update is going to be a look at time trials across all three games, because Vicarious Visions retroactively included the time trial modes in Crash 1 and 2. And then in the next video after that, we'll be looking at Future Tense, which is the original DLC level that Vicarious Visions made, as well as some basic, some more basic stuff like getting the proper ending, etc. Actually, I'm just realizing. Hold on. Yes, I mixed up which video is which. In what we're calling part 12, but it's going to have different numbers when this video goes live. That'll be the proper ending, I guess.
Awesome. We're almost there.